NVIDIA recently has had a database breach, and it showed something quite interesting. Apparently, according to them, Elder Scrolls 6 is slated to release in 2024, a whopping 3 years from now. And seeing how their other games are doing right now, I would say they need the time. I'm looking at you, Fallout 76.
16 times the detail.
Anyway, so how could Elder Scrolls 6 be better? Here's a couple ideas I cooked up. For one, magic has either been hit or miss to my understanding, as apparently it was so strong in Oblivion that in Skyrim it was nerfed into the ground. What I want is mages to be able to stand on their own 2 feet again, and what I mean by that is I want mages to never really have to rely on wearing armor or needing to carry around a sword or a mace when the magical pool runs dry. Apart from, in the early game when you're just starting out. I want everything I need for combat to be casted from my own 2 hands, as mage as cool because it's cool. Because also part of the appeal of being a mage is that you look harmless. You're a dude in a robe. it, it's almost like a joke, but what's cool about that is one moment you're a dude in a robe, next dude you're a dude in a robe casting fireballs and thunderstorms. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, so how are we going to deal with making mages stand their own 2 feet again and making them cool to play? So, here's a couple ideas on how to fix that. First, do away with that wimpy Skyrim magic. Make magic a viable option to play in Elder Scrolls 6. And diversify it again. Make it like Elder Scrolls level where we have a lot of spells that do different things, because there's a lot more variety in spells than there were in Skyrim. And I think, because they nerfed it into the ground, and two, I guess they didn't want mages to have fun. Another improvement that should be done for mages or a magic-based hero, is essentially you should be able to have other ways of restoring your magicka, other than waiting or potions. Like, for example, this could be a skill or maybe something. I don't know how you would implement it, but let's just say it was a skill, but that it would give you magicka regen while an enemy is under the influence of a spell, be that a destruction spell, illusion spell, anything really. As long as they're under a spell that you casted, maybe have have you generate a certain amount of magicka while they're under the effect, just to keep your reserves up and allow you to actually maybe want to use the other spells instead of just only using just typically one school. Instead of, so you can be like, oh, okay, I'll just use this, and like it gives you a reason to use other spells rather than just destruction and probably restoration for the most part. Another idea is that if your spell kills someone, either directly or maybe a couple seconds after, like, your fire effect does some sort of like burn damage after it hits someone, uh, it'll count that too, just so that way, as you're blowing through people, you're getting some magic back to keep the fight going, so you don't have to be like, hold on, man, I must drink my potion before I can set you ablaze again. I just want to be able to essentially what I'm trying to achieve with these changes is make it so combat doesn't need to be paused as often or really at all. I'm basically trying to keep the magic pool up, so that way you don't have to keep breaking the flow of combat by going to your inventory and checking down a couple potions to continue the fight. Also, as the fun thing, spell making needs to make a return in 6. Like, I know people said it was OP, and yeah, I would say so, but it's more of a fun factor, and why wouldn't you want to be able to create spells? It's like a role play thing. It's nice. And also there's a little bit of like how I would say this, like giving yourself a big pat on the back when you murder somebody with a spell you created. It's like, I did that. I'm proud of myself. So it's a little it's more than just I can create spells. It's more like I have knowledge of all the arcane arts. I will destroy anyone that comes across me. Basically that. Combat in Skyrim and Oblivion is passable, but what I mean by that is has just enough effort put into it that it works, but I think that Elder Scrolls 6 needs to revamp its combat. I'm not alone in this thought, as if you just look on Nexus you can find quite a few mods that change combat for the better. Some not so much. The changes I want implemented though are just two simple additions that I think will be enough to spice up combat in 6, to not make it feel the same as the other two entries. Well, the first addition is parrying. I want you to be able to parry your opponent's attack, and that could either lead into a stagger for a free hit or maybe even a counterattack. And if it also ends up being successful, maybe it would eat up some of the attacker's stamina just to have a little extra part going in there. Of course, it would have to have a timing window, so there's at least a little skill involved, but it should be pretty lenient, as it's Elder Scrolls 6 and not Sekiro. The second addition would be a move that allows you to guard break your opponent. As in Oblivion, more so than in Skyrim, when an enemy blocks, you pretty much have no way to deal with it apart from having to wait till they put their shield down. When in contrast, games like Chivalry, you have the ability to kick your opponent, and if it lands on someone who's blocking, it staggers them, allowing for a free hit. Of course, it's not without risk, as if you miss, then you're vulnerable. But if 6 could add something like this that's similar, it would make combat with other NPCs not that bad. Because then instead of having to hold up your shields, like I said, more in Oblivion than in Skyrim, because in Skyrim, blocking seems kind of useless, because on an NPC that's blocking, you can just keep swinging. Sure, you hit the shield, but there's no negative aspects of hitting someone blocking. I think maybe there's a stun, but it's not happened enough where I've decided I'm not gonna swing at a blocking dude, considering you swing, it hits them, they take the hit, it staggers them more than you, and then you just keep swinging, so there's really no downside. But in Oblivion, it's like the complete opposite. If you swing on a blocking opponent, you get staggered. And the thing is, if you swing again as soon as that animation's over, like that stagger animation, they typically block again, getting you into just a constant stagger, so they just keep hitting you. And you could say, oh, just don't hit them as soon as your stagger recovers. Okay, you don't hit them, and then they just hold their block for an unnaturally long period of time. And you guys are both just kind of sitting there blocking because you don't want to swing, and 2, you want them to swing and hit you so you can stagger them and get some free hits. But it would be nice if you had in 6, if you could, like I said, do something to guard break your opponent, so that way you're not just both sitting staring at each other blocking. And essentially the aims of both of these additions are to make you engage a little bit more with the combat and think a little more instead of just wailing on some dude with a sword, or basically just not swinging at all hoping he hits first. Another thing, as a side note, Bethesda, it'd be cool, but I kind of understand why you don't do it, but I mean, it'd be cool, especially for 6. It's taken you a couple years and work on it. You might as well do it. You have the time. But it'd be nice if the sword attack animations would look better and more refined the higher your skill gets for, your blade skill, or in Skyrim as it's called, one-handed. Basically for any melee weapon, it would look a lot better if the animations would kind of get more refined the better your character's skill gets. Because the animations in Skyrim, at least, and it's a little so in Oblivion, look kind of janky. They're passable, but they're a little janky. Because you could become this master of the blade, but you still look like pretty weird, because you're doing these big, long, open swings. These swings that look like you kind of just you picked it up and you're just kind of swinging because you don't know what else to do with it. But yeah, it'd be a nice addition from a role-playing standpoint, as well as just, in general, so it looks like your character's actually learning, as opposed to just in Skyrim the number does more damage, but you still like you're swinging your sword for dear life. Like I said, it's just a little detail touch that I'm pretty sure most players would appreciate and would be pretty cool. Anyway, that's all I have for you today. If you have any suggestions as to what should be added to Elder Scrolls 6, type it down below. Maybe I'll make a follow-up video to this one. Anyway, I hope this video was entertaining or interesting for you. And as always, have a wonderful morning, afternoon, or night.